In these oh-so-dark times, fear not, I have some positive news for you. Look at this, from James Lee of Breaking Points. Scoop, the implosion at the Daily Wire is accelerating. What? The Daily Wire is supposed to be the number one conservative media outlet. Number one, they're supposed to be. What started with Jeremy Boring, that's the CEO, stepping down has now spiraled into mass layoffs and another firing of a senior executive, Alyssa Cordova, the vice president of public relations. So we'll get to the juicy details in a second. But Jeremy Boring is the face of the company along with Ben Shapiro. Those two are the faces of the company. And this guy was very public, very forward-facing. They would always brag about how well they're doing, how many millions of dollars they're making, how many people are subscribers, paying subscribers to the Daily Wire. Jeremy Boring, gonzo the other day, stepped down the other day. We also got word they're hiring bankruptcy attorneys. What? I thought you guys were making tens of millions of dollars a year. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? Turns out that was all propaganda. Guys, this reminds me a lot of back in the day, probably before most of you followed politics closely. I know some of you guys are younger. There was this whole conservative media industrial complex where, so like a conservative author would release a book, and what would happen is right-wing think tanks funded by billionaires like the Heritage Foundation and American Enterprise Institute, places like that, they would buy these books from the conservative author in bulk. And so that conservative author's book would be like top 10 on the New York Times bestseller list. And that would then, in turn, get more people interested and more people to buy it. But it was astroturfed, funded by billionaire money through think tanks. You buy the books in bulk to make it look like it's more popular than it is, and you will it to the top by astroturfing it, right? This is why, Glenn Beck and Michael Savage and Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh and all these people, Bill O'Reilly, through this scheme, they were able to make these guys more prominent, right? And you don't have any infrastructure like that on the left. You don't even have infrastructure like that among centrists and liberals, really. It's on the left, there's nothing. So, if I release a book, it's sink or swim based on my own merit and whether or not you guys buy it and read it, right? But if I was a right-wing host and I had a radio show, I'd release it. I'd sell 100,000 copies like that because a right-wing think tank funded by billionaires would buy them all up. Boom. Top 10 New York Times bestseller list. Then you sell more as a result of that. You understand what I'm saying? And so I knew that all that was AstroTurf because I followed that closely. I got to be honest with you guys. I fell for the shtick about the Daily Wire. I thought they were genuinely and sincerely super-duper popular. Turns out that's bullshit. All right, let's get into the juicy details. The Daily Wire just fired Alyssa Cordova, their VP of Public Relations, and according to sources, Alyssa Cordova was Jeremy's minion. One was responsible for crafting the company's aggressive and paranoid media strategy. Cordova allegedly stalked former employees online, kept folders of clipped videos of their enemies, helped wage internal vendettas under the guise of PR. One source, the disaster of their PR strategy over the last year, was cooked up between Jeremy and Alyssa. Mass layoffs. The Daily Wire is also shuttering its kid division entirely, roughly a quarter of the company. And internally, people are furious. One source put it bluntly, if they let Jeremy go a long time ago, many people would still have jobs today. Everyone knows it. So apparently Jeremy was not liked. By the way, let's just reflect on this for a second. They built this conservative media empire, and they had a kids division. They would make conservative cartoons for kids, bro. What the fuck? Again, give me one example of anything even remotely comparable on the left. I'll wait. Doesn't exist. Doesn't fucking exist. He continues, with a quarter of the company gone and its core leadership in flames, the big question now is, what happens to the people still there? Can Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, and the rest stay insulated from the chaos, or is this just the beginning of more turmoil to come? And so, yeah, this is Andrew Klavan, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, and Michael Knowles. These, I guess, are the people that kind of remain. And it looks like they're sort of on the ropes, dog. It looks like they're sort of on the ropes. Ben Shapiro's numbers have gone the wrong direction recently. Look, I think a lot of this stems from maybe it was a little AstroTurf to begin with, right? Maybe it was a little AstroTurf. Definitely funded by billionaires. We know that. Every right-wing outlet is funded by billionaires. But I thought they had gotten to the point where they were genuinely popular. It looks like now the conservative base maybe sort of kind of hopefully has graduated a little bit beyond this kind of politics. But that's good news and bad news. It's good news because Ben Shapiro is fucking horrible. But it's bad news because a lot of them are graduating to more extreme voices, right? Because Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro, they are massively pro-Israel. Well, guess what? There's a strong chunk of the right-wing base that is anti-Israel. Now, they're not anti-Israel because Israel's doing a genocide. They're anti-Israel, many of them, because they hate Jews, right? Like, let's be honest. There's the rise of characters like Nick Fuentes, for example, on the right. The rise of misogynists like Andrew Tate, for example. You know, people like that. Remember, Daily Wire got into a big feud with Steven Crowder, where Steven Crowder, they were trying to bring him in. Steven Crowder made a big deal out of like, oh, you guys want to pay me $50 million only? Bro, that's like a slave contract, bro. There was a big fight over that. I remember it, right? And so now you have people like Asmongold, who just recently became political, and he just sits there and watches a Trump video and giggles and says, like, totally base, bro. So, like, you have some parts of the right-wing base are becoming more extreme, want more, like, overt, right-in-their-face type shit, like the Andrew Tates, like the Nick Fuenteses, and others they don't like the fake intellectual shtick of, say, Ben Shapiro. You know, they prefer a guy who hasn't showered in 2 weeks, like Asmongold, who's sitting next to, a bunch of empty Mountain Dew cans or whatever the fuck, with a rat on the floor in the background, and he just giggles and watches Trump stuff and says, this is awesome, bro. They want that, right? It's almost like the political reality on the ground shifted from underneath the Daily Wire, and they're playing catch-up. They're from a little bit of a previous generation, in a sense. Now, ultimately, are they going to find a way out? Well, yeah, I mean, Ben Shapiro could always do a show on his own if he wanted to, start a new company. These other guys, Matt Walsh has some semblance of an audience. So does Michael Knowles. I don't know about that Clavin guy, but I'm sure he's got some semblance of an audience. They could always, their bread and butter, they can always sort of readjust and move forward. But will they continue to have the cultural sway that they've had? That, I don't know. Because it was an article of faith among everybody, including mainstream media, that the Daily Wire is the poster boy of right-wing media success, right? And now with it crumbling, they also probably massively overextended too. That's the other thing. Is like, I don't know how many employees they had, but it was too many, right? Like, you got all these people working for you, you got all this overhead costs, and then if the billionaire money dries up, right, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And so it's interesting that we're seeing this during the Trump administration too, because in theory, they should be booming, right? This is the Trump administration. You guys are getting everything you wanted. It's happening right now, right? And nobody's watching. They also just lost Brett Cooper, who literally just looks like a younger female Ben Shapiro. She was a big host for them, and then she left. Candace Owens. Big falling out with Candace Owens. A lot of people are going in that direction instead. So you got people who want more extreme commentary or more idiotic commentary like Asmongold, the whole fake intellectual shtick, too much overhead costs, maybe the billionaire money's sort of drying up because they already got their guy in the White House. They don't need as much propaganda out there. I don't know, but it is fucking welcome, y'all. It is fucking welcome. Because these people are a scourge. They really are. The Daily Wire is just a fucking festival of extremism and slop bullshit. Just total, complete right-wing hacks, George W. Bush era style conservatives, neocons, more tax cuts for the rich, more deregulation, more war, destroy the social safety net, all that stuff. And so every time a right-wing media outlet goes into bankruptcy, a fairy gets its wings. Every time. So cheer that on, because Ben Shapiro's media empire crumbling is undoubtedly a good thing. Now it's just a matter of going after the other big fish in the pond, right? Because as much as we don't let Ben Shapiro get away with his bullshit, we ain't gonna let the other ones get away with their bullshit either, that's for sure. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.